We are live.
Good afternoon, everyone, all the students, teachers, mentors. Thank you so much for joining us for this YouTube live session today. ATL Innovation Mission, through its ATL Tinkering Labs programs, has always envisioned and believed in creating young entrepreneurs and innovators by giving them the right space and also learning resources and content to imbibe 21st century skills in these students. Today, in this YouTube live session, we are going to launch a new learning content, a new learning resource, the blockchain module, in collaboration with FIRE and Network Capital. I'm joined for this session by Mission Director Dr. Chintan Vaishnav, ATL Innovation Mission's Mission Director. I'm also joined by Prateek Gauri, Mr. Prateek Gauri, who is the founder and CEO of FIRE, and Mr. Utkarsh Amitabh, who's the CMO of FIRE and the CEO of Network Capital. This module comes as a request and also as something that we've been deliberating upon for a long while to come up with a module like this. As technology advances, as there are more and more opportunities to skill, we always think of how we can provide that to our students and how many people can take benefit of it. I'm glad to share that with this collaboration, we've come out with a very interesting, concise module that can be the starting point for anyone. It's not just for students, but for anyone who would like to understand a bit more about blockchain technology, and more so for students to apply it in their tinkering journey and come up with projects and innovations linked to that. The module will cover a lot of those topics on how you could use it as well. Very recently, we heard this from our mentors of change, and in collaboration with Network Capital, we host a lot of initiatives and events for our mentors of change. The program is now more than 6,000 strong and supporting our 10,000 adult tinkering labs. Our mentors of change gave us this valuable feedback that we should actually host a module on our platform for blockchain. This was after we had a session with Mr. Prateek Gauri, who shared interesting insights into the blockchain world and how it can be best used for innovation and for innovators. I think that got a lot of us interested. And with that, keeping to our promise, we said we'll come up with a module in the next few weeks, months. We are here in, I would say, less than a quarter's time frame, thanks to the efforts by the teams on both sides to come up with this module at this lightning speed. We hope to come up with many more modules. In the last few weeks, you saw few other modules. We launched a teacher training content. We also came up with the AIoT tinkering manual, which is how do you integrate AI and tinkering into the school curriculum. And today we are actually launching this blockchain module. Let me hand it over to Dr. Chintan Vaishnav, Mission Director, ATL Innovation Mission, to share his few words on how he feels about this module and how it can benefit students.
Great. Thank you so much, Deepali. And thank you to the FIRE team as well as the ATL team. I have to, I really have to compliment FIRE's leadership in this regard to come up with this idea of doing or sort of actively also working with ATL to do this blockchain module. It makes me think about how countries come to lead technology revolutions, right? Around the country, when wherever I go, I often find myself asking a question that can you list how many technologies can you list that you depend on, your parents depend on, your grandparents depend on, or if you've seen your great grandparents, they dependent on whatever. How many such technologies that were invented in India? And most people struggle to have a very long list, right? And then this is, I usually ask this question in order to motivate why we need to put a lot of energy into developing technology leaders. And I think today's step of incorporating the blockchain module into ATL, the school curriculum broadly through ATLs, is is a very important step in this direction, right? Of course, there are many such things to do, but blockchain is one such thrusts that is going to stay with us. Um, there also, if you then ask, okay, who is building the infrastructure that lets us unleash the creativity? For example, you ask this can be asked in the physical realm as well as digital realm, right? In the physical realm, you can say, okay, who is, when I use earth movers or diggers, these giant ones, who has made them? Is it my country that made it, or some other country that made it? Um when I go use tractors, is it my country that made it, or some other countries made it? Whatever, you can ask this question. And I think in the digital realm, it's really fascinating what's happening, because in certain areas, uh, our nation may have followed, but in certain other areas, I think we're beginning to lead. So, for example, we may say that, well, Android or iOS operating systems on which one develops apps and so on, that came to us, right? We didn't create it. Uh, Maybe there were people in that team who were from our nation. That's a different thing. Uh, but it came to us. But I think in certain other areas, when it comes to this large scale digital public goods type of inclusion, UPI, for example, we created it. Other nations want it now. We are talking to at least 20 nations at this point to say, can you build a digital public good infrastructure for us? And I think if we can do that in blockchain, which is the kind of thing that Fire, for example, has taken on, it can be amazing. If 5 years from now, if people say that, well, we use the whole world says 5-10 years from now that we use the infra that came from India. We know that these experts are in India, and anything we want to do new in this space, we will have to have India as one of our line items. So I think this can be amazing. And I think for that, we will have to prepare people early, right? Many nations, they're very, very strategic about preparing people to contribute to major thrusts, technology and science thrusts. And I think that today's step indicates a similar gesture. So, I mean, I won't say anything more about blockchain for two reasons. One is I'm not an expert on it, but the second is, um, but I'll say a little bit about it, which is that I personally find that distributed ledger is really something that will be which will penetrate so many different applications and use cases, even though we may be at an early stage. Uh, um, I personally ran into one such quagmire some years ago. Before Kiva came about, a friend of mine and I at MIT had created something called SMS Vani, and we wanted people to give micro donations, like up to $10, something that's risk-free for them, for people they want to reach. And there was a lot of excitement about it. People were willing to sort of consider giving small amounts and so on. Um, this was all before Twitter, also, actually, incidentally. But the one problem that we had run into was that if I give my money and you give it to somebody, how do I ensure that it actually got to the right person and it got used in the right way? Right? The brainstorm that we were having then today reminds me of a distributed ledger like architecture, although at that time there was no distributed ledger architecture. So but I can appreciate that there are so many such problems that can be unlocked through this technology, and I am really delighted that Pratik, Utkarsh, and team have partnered actively with us to take this forward. So thank you so much to Fire, and we really look forward to how students embrace what we have to bring to them. So back to you, Dipali.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chintan. And you ended up mentioning a real life use case of how blockchain module can be used. I think there are many, many more such applications. With that, let's launch the blockchain module officially on AIM's website. To access this module, you'll have to go to the AIM's website, aim.gov.in, and on that you will see this banner. आपको ब्लॉकचेन मॉड्यूल एम की वेबसाइट पे दिखेगा. यू विल हैव टू क्लिक ऑन द बैनर. ये बैनर है एम की वेबसाइट पे aim.gov.in, and you can get started on your journey of learning blockchain. It's a very simple module. It will just it will just give you basics of what blockchain is all about. It will tell you about some use cases, its application in various industries, and also some concepts that will help you in terms of applying it when you want to do it for an innovation project, for a problem that you want to solve, for an idea that you have. You can actually think of how you can use it along with blockchain. And from the innovations that we see coming from ATL students, I think this can be very, very useful in applying it in your innovation projects. So with that, please go ahead and access this module. Again, a big thank you to FIRE and Network Capital for collaborating with Atal Innovation Mission to develop this content for you. It is coming from experts. FIRE, as you know, is a blockchain unicorn, and it is coming from their experts. They have developed this content, especially for students, for school students, but of course not limited to school students. Anybody who wants to understand a bit more can actually go through this content. And if you have any questions, problems, queries, feel free to reach out to us, to your mentors of change, and we will help you. We hope to take this forward with newer content, with more advanced versions. This is the stage one where it equips you with basic information, but we will have more content in the coming years, months to, advance this learning for you all. This has been, a need coming from students, mentors, and we hope that this fulfills that. With that, let me hand it over to Mr. Prateek Gauri, who's the founder and CEO of FIRE, who have collaborated with us for this module. Just share with us your thoughts on how do you think this would be useful for the students in Tinkering Labs, and how has your journey been so far? I think that's also very inspiring for students, because I think they can come on a journey like yours once they learn the basic concepts.
So
I wanted to say one thing. I'm sorry, I didn't mention network capital, but I hope Utkarsh would highlight that dimension, which is so complementary and fascinating to what's happening in the blockchain domain itself. So
one team, sir. So thank you very much.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Dipali, and it's been an honor and privilege to actually work with Atal Innovation Mission on launching this blockchain module. The biggest reason I think that the reason we need a lot of awareness and what we expect out of the module is infinite possibilities in the blockchain space. And what I mean by that, it could of course position India. Our end goal is of course to position India as the as a hub of Web3 revolution, a Web3 sustainable revolution rather. We're trying to do our bit at FIRE to try to be a part of this revolution, which is a Web3 revolution. I think Chintan sir already spoke about some of the applications, but as I say, there are infinite possibilities, and infinite possibilities could have only emerged once kids come and learn about blockchain, number one, and number two, they understand the technology and they start using the technology in their day-to-day lives, and they start building layer twos, for instance. They start building decentralized applications to solve social problems, because one big part of why we started FIRE was how can you solve social problems, or how can you align how can you help India accomplish the UN 17 SDGs by 2030, which is a part of the Honorable Prime Minister's agenda? How can you accomplish that by 2030 using decentralized technology, using distributed ledger, using blockchain? So we built the infrastructure. And now, after this education, what we hope comes out, would be, a lot of kids learning about blockchain, understanding how to build a smart contract, understanding what the technology is, what the applications could be, and then start to build decentralized applications on top of Fire and any other layer one blockchain for that instance, because our end goal is to make sure that India gets positioned as a Web3, Web3 revolution, as a hub of Web3 revolution. And you would, as you know, our journey has been, when we started the journey in just August 2021, and in 11 months we became a unicorn. So we would see a lot of growth stories like that. A lot of unicorns probably would emerge out of kids who just study this curriculum. So that's why I say infinite possibilities, because the more kids get into it, the more they will build, and the more they will end up contributing to India's growth story, the more they will create unicorns, and the more social problems get solved using the technology itself. So that's our end goal, and I think it's we would like to thank Chintan sir specifically for believing in Fire, for believing in that we can develop the curriculum. And now, since it's live, we would highly encourage kids to kind of read it. If there are any problems with anything, you can please reach out to us. We are very accessible on social media or via email, and we'll be happy to answer all your queries. But our end goal is to get kids acclimatized on Web3, get acclimatized on a fifth industrial revolution, which I started promoting more than 10 years back, to prove the thesis that you can actually make more money if you do good to the world. So how can you focus on blockchain and sustainability, work at the intersection of it, and position India as the hub for the next big revolution? So that's the goal. Thank you so much. Over to you, Dipali.
Thank you so much, Prateek. And indeed, infinite possibilities it is when you learn something new, a new skill, and how you can apply it. Your journey itself is very inspiring for students. How you've reached the milestone landmark of a unicorn, and in this very space. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Let me invite Mr. Utkarsh Amitabh now, who's the CMO of Fire and the CEO for Network Capital, our partners for a Mentor India program as well, who've also collaborated with us on this initiative. Over to you, Utkarsh, for your thoughts on this.
Thank you very much, Dipali, Tanvi, and Dr. Chintan. I just want to say that I've worked with many governments in India, UK, US, France, but I've yet to meet a team that works at the pace and space of the Atal Innovation Mission team. It just was 2.5 months back when Prateek and I were at the Mentor India meet, and the idea was floated that something should be done for the blockchain module. And thanks to your leadership, Dr. Chintan, Dipali, Tanvi, we are here starting 2023 with a blockchain module live. And today, I was just looking at the numbers. Already, we touch about 7.5 million children in some shape or form. And this number is about to grow. So creating a learning module, which is accessible to them, then complemented with a mentorship layer, and then going to be complemented with a layer where students actually learn to build on the chain. So we want the students to go through the entire module. But the question is how, and what happens when there is radical collaboration between the government sector and the private sector? And I think this is a prime example of what the fruits of such an effort can be. So if our mission is to democratize blockchain education, because the problem statement is very clear, less than 1% of the world knows anything about the blockchain. It's up to the students in schools to actually change that. I think first they will learn, and they will then teach their parents or their other folks around. So this, I think, is the start of a movement. And I believe that in the Web 1 era, which was all about advertisements, Web 2 era, which was all about platforms, a lot of the data and power went to the platforms. But in the Web 3 era, which we are trying to co-create together, the government and the private sector, Niti Aayog Fire being a prime example of collaboration, we are building a decentralized internet. And the fundamental premise of a decentralized internet is that the power should be with the stakeholders. In this case, the bright students that exist in India and around the world. So we want to empower them to build applications, dApps as they are called in Web3 parlance, that solve real problems, be it financial inclusion, be it healthcare, be it education. We want to see DAOs come out of this module. But for any of that to happen, first, the students and the mentors both need to familiarize themselves with the basic concepts. What is Web 1? What is Web 2? Why Web 3? Why now? What is the fundamental problem that the blockchain hopes to solve? How is it that they can change the paradigm of power and data when it comes to Web 3? And all of these things need a very strong understanding of basics. So this module is not meant to be a module which will throw data at people or give them very fantastical visions of the future. There are already science fiction books about it, and we are obviously a believer in what the potential of Web3 can be. But personally, and Dr. Chintan, and I remember our first chat at least, he was talking to me about the importance of practical innovation, of how important it is for citizens to come together in times of need to be able to solve real problems. And to have this kind of citizen web builders, I think the movement will happen in schools, not just tier one schools in Delhi and plush colonies in Bombay, but also in tier two and tier three towns, which is a big focus of the Atal Innovation Movement, which I've had the pleasure to be involved with from the beginning. And for me, I have learned so much from this collaboration, just seeing the Utter Innovation team work, just interacting with the mentors, interacting with the students, the summer school programs that we did. So there is a lot of innovation that is happening within the government. It's our duty as private sector players to do our bit to democratize the future of the internet. And I hope that as this decentralized, more democratic internet is built, we will see the emergence of a whole new cadre of developers, ecosystem shapers, who will keep the sustainable development goals at the forefront, which is a premise of what's a shared belief, and then try and build applications that make like a phase shift in the way we look at the world. So I am, touched that, we got the opportunity to collaborate. Thank you very much to the Niti Aayog Atal Innovation Mission team and leadership. For the past 5 years, I can't remember one collaboration or one interaction we've had which has left me anything but energized. So for many more adventures to come, grateful for your support, and we will continue to do our bit to take it forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Utkarsh. And let me say that it's a mutual feeling. We have equally benefited from this collaboration, be it the Mentor India program, be it the association with Fire Now, where we're taking blockchain and many more such initiatives to students across the country. I want to add that this is just the start of a journey. When you come on your journey of learning blockchain, like I said, we'll develop more content and more advanced content. Once you have had the basics and foundational learning completed, we will come up with more. We'll also organize some YouTube live learning sessions where we will walk you through some of this content to make it easier. You can also ask your doubts in those sessions that we organize. This is to equip you with those skills so that you can innovate further using this technology. And finally, we also plan to launch a hackathon based on sustainability theme and how blockchain can be utilized for that. And we will announce that as well soon. But first things first, you first should go through this content, learn more, and we will take you through this journey through various initiatives as we go along the months. With that, we come to the close of this session. I will encourage everyone to do this learning content and module. We have a series of learning content on the AIM website. We have now more than 16 learning modules. The two recently launched ones, the energy literacy program, which was launched last week, and this week, the blockchain module. I encourage everyone to take that, not just ATL students, non-ATL school students, everyone. This is accessible for anyone, anywhere who would like to learn a bit more about these two important, pertinent topics. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Pratik Gauri from FIRE, Mr. Utkarsh Amitabh, again from FIRE and also Network Capital, and Dr. Chintan Vaishnav, Mission Director, Atal Innovation Mission. I want to thank the team that has been working very hard to get our content together, the entire team of FIRE and their experts who helped us curate this content, the Network Capital team, Varya and her colleagues who've been supporting us in this, along with Utkarsh, and Tanvi from the Atal Tinkering Labs team, who's been driving this particular initiative and also this module development. Thank you for all your efforts in bringing together this great content for our students.
Dipali, can I add one bit of excitement to what has been discussed already?
Sure, sure.
As all of you know, this is the year of G20 presidency for India. One of the greenfield engagement groups for G20 is the Startup 20 engagement group. Under this group, there is at the inception meeting next week, we plan to unveil a Startup 20X platform where any event such as this hackathon that you just mentioned, Dipali, can go on the global stage and advertise themselves, put up their content, and create excitement. So let's do that together.
Yes, so you'll have our full support in all the stuff that you do with G20. One of your colleagues reached out, Dipali had connected us. And for this is just a start. It's an ongoing engagement. We will offer full support at every step.
Great. Looking forward to working together.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this session today.
Thank you so much, everybody.